Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. So today's pick a card reading is all about what divine archetypes have a message for you. And we're going to be looking at 3 archetypes within each reading. They may have 3 separate messages, or they may have something that combines. We'll see what we get. This is inspired by and in honor of just receiving a deck that I backed on Kickstarter a little while ago. The deck has a rather long title of Pandemonia Altar Oracle Statue Deck. The details about the Kickstarter link are in the description box below that can take you there, and you can keep an eye on that if you potentially want to follow this up and see if you can get a copy of it yourself. So that's up to you. But the deck, just like the title, is fairly sort of long and complicated in a way. So is the deck, and that's one of the things I really love about it. There's 72 different deities looked at in this. It looks at their aspects. It looks at things like the astrology associated with it, which I will talk about. And what I also liked, firstly, there were some deities in here that I've never heard of, and for me, because I have quite a classic education, I think you would say, that's always a new thing. I always love that when I get to learn about new aspects of spirituality or the natural world or whatever it might be. So that was really intriguing. The other thing that I really liked was that it has a number of deities or divine archetypes in it that are maybe fall into a more morally ambiguous area, that maybe were demonized by, an old gods being demonized as demons in new religions and all that kind of thing. The deck doesn't seek to light wash, as they say, things. It doesn't seek to sort of overtly idealize that. It does look at the aspects that maybe cause that kind of categorization, but equally it doesn't demonize either. So it's just looking at the energy. So I like that kind of agnostic to the way that different spiritual groups or spiritual religious organizations or whatever might see it, just looking at the pure energy that's involved. So I like that kind of inclusion, I guess, is what you would say. So it's an exciting deck on many, many levels. So we will look here at the divine archetypes who want to talk to you. We will have a look with tarot about what they're saying, and then we're going to also have a look at this, how it kind of operates for you with your own magic and abilities, with your own astrology sort of energies, and also then kind of move to your kind of human psychological energy around it, and also the natural world with spirit animals to finish off. So we kind of go from the divine down to the most natural world. So hopefully that gives a holistic picture. Now you need to choose your pile or piles. Of course, you can go to more than one if you would like, or you can always go, if you always go to pile 2, go to pile 2, that's all fine. But for those that actually like to sort of tune in and decide whether they want to go to one or more than one reading, and which reading or readings they want to go to, I did ask Spirit for one of the divine archetypes of the 3. There are 2 under each of these. I don't know what they are yet, but this is one to give you a bit of a sense about one of the divine archetypes coming to you. So that may help with the choice. So for pile number 1, we have Curious. You will see this connects to Gemini, so that may be a particular thing for people who have strong Gemini placements in your chart or something like that. For pile 2, we have Rainala, and that symbol there is Ursa. So it's Ursa Major and Ursa Minor. So the astrological connections are sometimes planetary, and they're also around either, say, the sun signs, but also the constellations. And then pile 3, we have Lunara that connects to Cancer. So those sort of things may help you choose, the image may, whatever works for you. But when you know what reading or readings you want to go to, the timestamps are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome pile 1 to your reading. So you come to the reading with Curious, which is a bit of a, well, it's not a play on words, it's the way that the name of the divine archetype is spelled, but it does link to curiosity and other things, and that I wouldn't be surprised if most of you felt drawn, particularly with Gemini as a connection there. It's interesting for you, Gemini and Mercury are very, very strong in this. 2 of the divine archetypes here are connected to Gemini and Mercury in different ways. The 3rd archetype, so we have Genius and Curious, and then we have Buddha. Now, the interesting thing about this is I actually think there is a combined message here, and it's a message of almost the order in which things come, and completely, without thinking about it, because I just laid the cards out, it makes sense that we go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That makes sense in how we're going to read them. I would normally have started with that because it's the main one, but this is actually, I think, a precursor to the messages of this. So let me discuss what I think is happening here. So let's start with Buddha. So Buddha in this deck is associated with the constellation of Pegasus. So that's freedom, flight, being able to sort of like soar above things, see things. Buddha, of course, as a divine archetype, is about enlightenment. But what this card is calling to you to do, because it's also with the colouring, you know, this sort of makes sense, it's connecting it to Neptune, is to look at your belief structures and look at what is real and what isn't real. Do you have assumptions about yourself or about the world that you almost need to unlearn? And the reason this is happening is this is talking about a process towards a grand new understanding that you're meant, I think, to be privy to and to then, you know, share, write about, communicate about. But it's almost like there's a bit of like mental or belief structure and spiritual belief structure, house cleaning that has to happen first. So Buddha here, I think, is coming to say, look at all your beliefs, examine them with great objectivity. Don't hang on to something that isn't seeming to work. Don't hang on to things that are blocking your intuition or blocking your interactions. If you are carrying any false sense of yourself spiritually, let go of that, because something very powerful is meant to come in. There's some very powerful energies around this, but it won't happen if you are sort of seeing yourself in one particular way and not being open to look at other things. So this is very much a kind of almost throw out everything that you believe in unless you have very strong proof of it, I would say. And even with that, just put it aside, because you're just like decluttering a house, you're clearing your energy field to bring in something else, which then takes you, so that's what Buddha wants you to do, to make enlightenment a journey of unlearning so that you can let the enlightenment come through. Then we have Curious. Now, Curious is associated, as I say, with Mercury and with characters like Thoth or Hermes. So, you know, we talk about the great alchemist Hermes Trismegistus, who was, as I say, part of alchemy, part of a lot of the mystery schools, that kind of thing. We're talking about Hermes, again, is of course associated with Mercury as well. There is a lot about a brilliant inspiration coming in. And what Curious is here to talk to you about is you are meant to be using your communication because you're on the verge of a profound learning. And so you're meant to be open to what could be coming in. Clear it out and be open to what's coming in. And what it's all about in the end, and this is why this is important, is with another Geminian energy here. So I don't know, a lot of you may have very strong Gemini placements, or it might be that when particular key planets are in Gemini that this really triggers. Or it might just be that it's really just calling you to think about both communication and duality, because Gemini is about duality. But what it leads to with Genius is that this is Mercury again, but this way in one of the figures that Genius is associated with is Janus. So Janus is the 2 or 3-headed god. You can see it in different depictions. But the concept of Janus is that he looks to the past, he looks to the future, as well as being in the present. There is a sense of prophecy, of understanding the flow of time, and it's a very big picture energy. So Genius is asking you, when you start to get a profound message coming through Curious, to use it to work out who are you in the grand scheme of things. This is why you have to have cleared this out. So because at its most risky, and all divine archetypes working with you can either enlighten you and bring you to a better sense of self-realization and a better sense of your purpose, or they can take you down a rabbit warren where you get kind of spiritual narcissism. This is why this is really important. It's asking you to clear that out and understand what this is saying and why it is coming to you. So there is a communication coming to you. It could be spiritually, it could be in some form of download. It could be some communication from somebody that actually makes you look upon things differently, understand things differently, and realize what your purpose and path really is. So whether it's to really understand the world better, or whether it's to understand what you're meant to do better, or some combination of both, and we'll see a little bit with the tarot cards. This is all about clearing the energy and clearing any assumptions or ego energies that would stop you from seeing the truth of what's coming through, because there is something very profound coming through. And I think given the nature of this collective, a lot of you, this is going to be some form of download, but it is saying kind of almost throw out everything, be open. It may come in a very unusual way. If you are used to using a clairsense in one particular way, it may come in another. I would expect clairaudience and clairsentience by and large with a kind of Geminian energy, but it could come in some other way. So if you're used to that, and then suddenly like you're getting an upset stomach every time you think about something, and you know that you need to sort of clear the energy around that, could be this coming in for you to understand something. So it could be different, but remain open-minded to what comes through. It could also, I'm getting for some of you, come from the least likely place. So it could be, out of the mouth of babes, as they say. Children may say something to you that is like a spark of inspiration with a depth of wisdom and enlightenment that you might have thought, somebody would have to be an adult to have. It could be the friend who's normally just playing video games and not being interested in anything, says something that is profound that takes you in a different direction. So there could be something very different about the way this comes through. But we'll see what each have to say to you individually with tarot, and then we'll bring it together. So I'm going to start with Buddha, and then I'm going to go in that order because I just feel that although this is kind of the thing, I think that the key message here was that a message is coming to you. Not to be too tautological about it, but nevertheless, I think it goes in that order. So let's see, let's get 3 cards from the tarot from Buddha around what to focus on in clearing your space, your energy field. For some of you, it might literally be do something physical like decluttering a home or something like that to allow the energy in. Whatever feels like the way for you to get to that more calm space where you're ready to let go of any false beliefs about yourself and so forth. So Buddha says, the star, it's not about you doubting yourself. Temperance reverse, it's about getting things in balance. Okay, this does make sense. 6 of Cups reverse. Okay, there is some past belief that you have had instilled in you, or you have used. For some of you, you may have used it as a little bit of a way of protecting yourself. So I'm getting that for some of you, there might have been a belief about yourself spiritually that for you got you through a difficult time with 6 of Cups reversed. And Buddha is saying that served its purpose at that time, but now to hold on to that is out of balance. So for instance, if you were the scapegoat child in a narcissistic family, you may have taken on certain sort of spiritual or psychological beliefs about yourself in relation to that you took on to protect yourself. But you need to let that go because it's almost as though it was overcompensation. Like, this is what we're looking for here. This is not meant as a criticism. It's just meant to be understanding that we will do that. We will, if you felt that you were misunderstood and you felt that, your spirituality was your one sort of way of kind of rising above people that were putting you down and all that kind of thing, you might have decided you're not just spiritual, but, you're an earth angel or you're a reincarnated God or something like that. There's a certain degree of, and people I guess could be that. What do I know? But there is something here for you that is a compensatory thing. That's what Buddha is saying, and it served its purpose. Buddha is very gentle about this. There is no problem, but it's actually now keeping you out of balance with what you're truly here to do with the star. So it's like, whatever you really wanted to do. I also think for some of you, there may have been some very deep dream from when you were young that you put aside, and now things are out of balance. You're meant to reconnect with that. But the only way you can is to kind of decalcify the edges around you spiritually or in your life in general. Maybe in how you communicate with others, actually, given the communication side here. You need to kind of clear that out because then you can more focus on what you do. So Buddha is not saying, oh, you're over your skis and you think you're much more than you actually are. That's not the energy here. There's something that you've taken on as a belief, as I say, that maybe it served its time or maybe it just helped you at a time when you really needed it, but it's getting in the way of you really getting the communication now. So that's interesting. For some of you, it may be letting go of one spirit guide to bring another one in, and that can be done very gently and with great gratitude for the spirit guide that you had before. So Buddha is saying this is not about you losing sight of who you are. This is not about diminishing you. This will free you and actually allow the true you to come through. But you've got to kind of do it. You've got to do it because otherwise you are actually diminishing your own potential yourself. So then with Curious, that something is wanting to come through. Curious is telling you that you need to be open. So let's see in what way Curious wants that for you. Queen of Cups, open emotionally, certainly. King of Pentacles, and materially, that's interesting. Six of Wands. Wow. This is definitely meant to be something which will make you succeed. Some of you, in fact, this is what I'm saying, there's a compensatory thing here. I feel like whether it's in disappointments that you've had in life, you know, creatively or career-wise, or with how you were seen in your family or whatever it is, you're actually meant to be coming to this place of victory. This is what this is about. And it's like, but you have to believe that that could be the case and let go of anything that were the false. Yeah, there's a false energy that, as I say, sustained you when you were being unfairly treated, I think. But you let that go of that and just open yourself to who you really are. Then you're meant to be very successful, both materially and also emotionally, and in connecting the material world to your emotional authenticity. This is, you can reclaim your capacity to manifest and your capacity emotionally and have a victory with whatever this communication is that's coming in. But you have to believe it. It's almost like you've either, as I say, and I'm not sure, it's going to depend on who comes to this reading, you've either created a false construct of yourself that was compensatory and helpful, and no criticism, it was fine for the time, but it's going to block you now. Or you've put a lot of your belief in someone else. So that may be the other thing. Someone else is the spiritual guru, someone else is the leader, someone else is that. And this is time to let that go so that you can actually move forward. So you'll know better whether in that sort of house cleaning here it's about getting rid of false ego constructs you have, or whether it's the handing over you might have done to somebody else to sort of advise you and give you the direction, because you're going to get it directly here. That's what Curious is saying. And it's meant to be bringing you victory. And then genius, as I say, is to know your own personal genius, to know what do you bring that nobody else can bring, which is a big thing big theme of this channel, actually. So I'm really pleased to see this energy. But let's see what genius has to say about that. Your position in the scheme of things, your real position, not maybe whatever you were told, whatever you followed, or whatever you created to compensate for a difficult situation. So, Four of Pentacles, something stable. Ace of Wands reversed. Okay, you don't know yet what this is because the communication has to come in. The Chariot reversed. Okay, so genius is saying here, it's very creative. Whatever it is, it's very creative, has a lot of passion around it. Could be to bring in a great love, the right communication to do that. If you've kind of created, if you try to always, like if this was about love, you could always like present to someone else what you think they want rather than who you are. And if you let that go and you just start to allow who you are to come through, you bring the right person in. If it's something creative, it could have been trying to fit in to a particular, you know, genre or industry or something, and becoming more pure about what you do and more clear about that and so forth. But there is something passionate or creative about it. You don't know yet what it is. And so genius is sort of saying, we can't tell you this. And in fact, that makes perfect sense. Like the divine archetypes here are being really sensible. It's the last thing you want if you're trying to really work out what's true for you is to be just listening to a reader on YouTube, to be frank. And that's not to say, like, come to any reading you want here, but at the end of the day, for this particular thing, it's going to come direct to you. It's all that this was really about was letting you know that was happening and talking about how to prepare for it. So it's going to come direct to you. It's got a creative energy to it. It is connected to your destiny, but you're not going to move forward. You're not even going to be allowed to move forward. You're going to be kept stuck until this comes through and until you take it on. And in fact, genius is actually flipping this right back here and saying, if you felt stuck materially, emotionally, or whatever, it's because there's something not true in your self-image. Once you clear that out, it can all happen. So it sort of almost becomes in a circle that turns in on itself. But once you get this, you will know who you're meant to be in the world. And there's a huge amount of potential with it, with an ace there, even if it's reversed. Very creative, very passionate, very charismatic. It's got something to do with who you're meant to be in the world. I think it's also saying too that for some of you, the message here, let's take it at its most strict message. If Buddha really is saying that some of you, as I say, to maybe compensate for something, have kind of almost aggrandize yourselves in your spiritual heart, and that does happen. Again, I'm not having a critique, but if that did happen, then you may feel that the only way to be able to let this go is to have something huge, to have the grand revelation that changes the world. I think genius here is saying this could work at any level. There is huge potential for it to go anywhere, but it's like step by step. It's same with the Four of Pentacles. that it's just as valid if it's sort of like creating a structure at this point or just getting a stability in your life. It's like don't get over your skis about what this is, because what is coming through is very wise and very profound. But again, if you think tomorrow I've got to get the inspiration and I'm just going to sit down, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to get the Nobel Prize for Literature in the first draft, then you are giving yourself such an aggrandized view here at the moment that it actually stops you achieving it, because you're not being realistic about dealing with the world. So I think there's an interesting message here. I think for most of you it's been compensatory, and there is a true genius in you when you let that go, but you need to let that go. So let's just get 3 cards to bring it all together, tarot-wise. Knight of Pentacles. Be dedicated, do the work day by day. Wheel of Fortune, yes, good fortune is coming through. Page of Cups, connecting you to your heart. It's like be dedicated to that. The timing is coming through. Timing is important. You need to do this. You need to do that, and you need to be as honest as you possibly can with yourself. You don't have to discuss it with anybody else. You don't have to like put out a Facebook or Twitter post to say, oh, I've realised all these things about myself. You don't need to do anything public. You just need to clear that energy so that you can let the new energy coming in, and then pay attention for the signs and the ways it could be coming to you. It's very good fortunes coming in. So that's what this is. It's all about preparing you for that. That's why they want to talk to you about that, so you make the best of it. So let's have a look at the magical energy that is associated with their message. So we'll get a couple of cards in that. Oh, just dropped a clear quartz. That's interesting. I think that might be a sort of sign. Yeah, drop anything that isn't clear. I think sometimes the universe talks in different ways. So your magic around this. Firstly, believe. Yes, this is about being able, what do you believe? Look at the mirror. What is true? What isn't true? Believe that whatever is true is more than what you're actually looking at here. Now, it doesn't, as I say, if you have got to the point where you've needed to feel that you were this massive thing, to feel good because of what has happened to you in your life, and it's very human and we all do it, doesn't mean that you have to be even bigger on that level. What it's saying is the true you is bigger than anything you could have thought about. And you know, but it might manifest itself in a different way. But believe in yourself and understand yourself. That's a really, and you have the capacity to do that. Buddha wouldn't have come, it would have been no point if you weren't able to do that. And focus, yes. Once you have done that, focus to see where this energy is coming through. It may be saying, you know, some form of ritual, some form of meditation, something that focuses your mind may help this message to come through. I do feel it's like a channeled message. Let's see also a couple of spiritual gifts that may either rise in you, or you might even use more that you've used before, that helps you to really get in touch with what the divine archetypes are saying to you. We have spell work. Yeah, some of you, there may be sort of something here where you actually do use sort of like energy to coax this out. I feel like for some of you that may make you believe in it a bit more. I don't think you really need it, to be honest, but I think for some of you, you may do it, and that's fine. And spiritual engineer, being called to explore using your problem-solving skills and your knowledge of spirituality, psychology, and science to bring much-needed solutions. So there's something here. Whatever you're going to do is going to help others. I feel like it's like you'll understand you don't need some of this. You'll understand that, you know, it's your mind and your spiritual connection and all that kind of stuff that has the genius that finds the way through the labyrinth. So I'm saying whatever it is that you're doing now and whatever you believe now, you're actually more than that, but it might be sort of something that you hadn't necessarily seen status-wise as being more. But once you actually do it, you'll realize that, because you're really manifesting who you are. And one was a compensatory energy, whereas this is the true energy of you. So let's see a couple of planetary pairings to see what else is associated with this, because we already know Mercury is very strongly associated with this for you, and Neptune with the Buddha archetype. So we have Sun and Jupiter. Yeah, this is good fortune, and this is the good fortune in the expansion of the true you, not the you that was the, as I say, I keep thinking compensatory. I keep feeling that most of you have had people criticize you, put you down or whatever, and you've turned to you know, whether it's spirituality or some other thing, to create a persona that you needed at the time. And there was probably some truth to it, but you're more than that. You're meant to expand. And We've got Mercury again with Chiron. Yes, and it's through the communication you heal. And you'll probably heal others as well. Like your example could heal others. And this spiritual engineer, understanding, like engineering, architecture, all that kind of thing, the mind is connected to this. If you're one of those sort of people who's just thought spirituality is all not about the mind, it might be this is actually something you have to reincorporate, because there's a genius. You have a genius that's meant to come out. Okay, so let's then look. There's two other layers that I want to look at for this for you. The first is sort of the human energy, the human archetypes. We've seen the divine archetypes, so we're going to use the Ego Observer deck, a tarot deck, because I think it's a really good deck around human psychology. And I'm just going to shuffle, and then I'm going to deal out till I get 2 major arcana cards to see what we get. And then we're going to close with the spirit animal for their message to you to bring it all together. So deal with, and wait while I deal out till I get the major arcana. The sun, how beautiful. The sun, play, have fun. Yeah, there's a kind of a heaviness. I think that the main thinking for you psychologically was, as I say, there was something that you believed or held onto, or you felt you had to follow other people rather than your star and your sun, whatever it was. That's what needs to be cleared out. And it can almost be fun. Like you could almost do it as a fun exercise. Like, what stays and what goes in the belief structure. Try and make it fun, make it play. Oh, wow. And then we have strength. That's where the strength, I am, like this is what you are, and only you can get this message. And that again, like there's a kind of sort of sense of the clairsentience. May also be clairvoyance. It's not quite as mercurial, but I think that, with the eye, it could be clairvoyance for some of you. This is having fun with your life paths to know who you are, because there's something that you used that isn't who you are. And once you clear that out, you get much more to who you are. So maybe by closing out with a spirit animal, we might get a little bit close to what this I am is, because, if you talk about shamanism, when you go to the lower world, which is your soul, you find your power animal and things like that. So this might be a good way of closing out for precisely this sort of reading, to get a little bit of a sense about, almost like a kind of a sneak preview of upcoming attractions when you've done the clearing out and you move into who you are. So let's see what we get there. Oh, wow. Lion. There you go. Strength. Moving forward with strength. For some of you, Leo, I think very strongly, as well as now Gemini and so forth. But this is strength. This is your own sovereign identity. It's protective of others. So I think that there is a sense that you will actually help others. And isn't it interesting, the colouring? There's you start with all the colours, and then you come into these. I think there's something around sort of reds, oranges, yellows. So this is like the root chakra, the sacral chakra, the creative energy, very much Ace of Wands again, reversed there. Those kind of things, solar plexus, maybe focus on those chakras as well when you are focusing, because I think this brings through at a fundamental level who you are. But you're much stronger than you think you are, but you've had a construct to make you think that you were that isn't real. But when you let that go and clear it out, or you may have given up your strength to follow others because you didn't see your strength, one or other. But when you give that up, that's when the true energy comes through. So I hope that this resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. So you came to Renala, which, as I said, is connected to Ursa, the Ursa constellation, so Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, which is the constellation of the Great Bear, which has a very strong motherly aspect, which Renala has as well. I must say, looking at these and their energies, and it's similar in Pile 1, because I've just filmed Pile 1 just before this, I think these messages are not going to pull any punches. They're pretty full on, and I think this is obviously what sort of needs to be done now. It probably comes from the sort of sense that I said in the introduction about these energies are agnostic to positivity or negativity. They could carry both, and this is very much the message here. There is a clear message here with these three coming up. They're asking the same question of you, and potentially presaging great victory and wonderful things, or if your motives and your intentions are not pure, then possibly the opposite. So, everybody who comes to this, you'll just have to sort of work out when they're talking about this, how that energy operates. Because we have Renala, which I feel like this is in an order actually, and this again happened, it's just completely serendipitous the way that I laid them out. I always knew I was going to put the first one in the middle, but it's like this happens, and then this happens. I think this is sort of true of the way the message operates. So let's actually look at Judicia first. So Judicia is connected with Libra, so social issues, balance, fairness. It feels very much like the Justice card within the tarot. Judicia, of course, the judiciary. There is something here that, and it connects to Ishtar and other sort of deities like that. This is about what is worthy and what isn't worthy. You know, another deity, you know, wasn't listed actually in the way this has been written up, but, you know, things like Mart, where you weigh your heart, you know, with a feather, you know, in the sort of afterlife in Egyptian mythology. So there's something here that's about worthiness. This is what Judicia is coming here to ask you about, asking you to consider, you know, if there is a selection or a worthiness energy coming up. So I think people will know actually based on this whether you've come to the right reading. If you come to the right reading, there is some question now about in your life, or it's coming up, and you could probably foresee that it's coming up, about worthiness. Now, this could be being chosen for a job. It could be moving up in an initiatory level in some sort of religious or spiritual order. It could be something creative you're bringing out in the world, and so forth. So the very first principle of this, that all of these energies are asking you to do, I think, is to work out what is worthiness. What does it mean? And given some of the energy of the others, I feel like there's the worthiness based on skill. And I almost feel like this is saying, in whatever this is, you have that. That's not a question. What you need to be sure of to be truly worthy is the motives and the intent of how you would use that skill, or how you would use that honor, or how you would use that next elevation. That's what you're being asked to consider, because it's sort of coming up in all the energies. That's what these goddesses are here to talk to you about. So this is, you know, what do you value, and what do you value in others? And in terms of the worthiness, you know, it's also obviously a very strong indication of do it fairly, you know, have fair competition, you know, that kind of thing. And it's interesting. I think this is an energy that's in the universe at the moment, in the world at the moment. Like what is worthy? You know, and when we look at how privilege impacts things like meritocracies, and whether we've ever really had a meritocracy is a bit of an interesting thing to argue, and a conversation for another time, because I could talk about that for hours. So, but I think that there is something here around you need to understand that. So we'll see with tarot a little bit more about that, but it's like to make sure that you know, one, I guess, that you feel you do know, and you have the skills and everything. I think you do, but it's what are you going to do with it? Because then we have Renala. So Renala is very much a mother energy. So there's sort of something here about nurturing and caring for others as well as for your own well-being. It would be almost like, just as a baseline, if you were going to get promoted, if you were going to elevate up a level or whatever, it's like, how do you actually then extend the ladder down to help others? There's some sort of energy in that. It's like, I'm not going to win just to prove that I'm better than everybody else and then shut the doors. It's like, how do I, you know, the rising tide raises all ships, that kind of energy. So she's there. As I said, Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, the Great Bear, there's a lot of strength. It says you have a lot of strength. She's connected to Ran and Tefnut as well. Now, it says that rain is coming, and rain is either exactly what you need. If there has been a drought, if you, in getting your selection, you're moving on, you're being seen as worthy, if you're ready and your intention is pure, then rain coming clears away all the energy and the drought that stopped that from happening. Now, interestingly, I just paused, and I think I got a very direct synchronicity from the universe around this to say that for most of you, this is exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about clearing away the stuff that needs to be cleared away and replenishing the energy. So for most of you, this is a very, very positive message. And the reason I say that is that literally a garbage truck came up and it just took away the garbage from outside my apartment block. So I feel like it was the universe saying that for most, the message here is that the rain coming through is a bit like that. It's a bit like the garbage truck. It's going to clear away what isn't helpful to you, what isn't nurturing to you, what isn't growthful to you, and also to replenish the earth. So for most of you, that's the case. But certainly in this reading, it is asking you to do a bit of internal soul searching to make sure. Because the other side of it is when the rains come, you can have a tempest. So I think there's almost a warning here of, if your intentions, because it comes up a lot here, if your intentions are are not pure around whatever this is, and only you will know, then you can draw on a tempest with this. It can be too much and ultimately destructive to you. If your intentions are pure, then you will find the way is cleared for you. I think that's the message. Because then Dina connects with Cancer, so but protection of others. There's an energy in here about protecting others, social balance and protecting others. That's important, using your bare energy, your sort of, your strength. Dina is connected to Diana, any kind of wild, innocent, huntress sort of energy. So that's definitely what's going on here. Connects to the moon, so your psychic ability, your prophetic ability, all of that kind of thing, and the focus that you would get, say with the bow and arrow, all of that kind of thing. But she is looking at your motivation. That's really what this is. She's come to say, I'm going to look at your motivation, and if your motivation is pure, then, or if you have had something unfair happen, and this is clearing away something unfair to clear the way for you, which is another thing. If you feel that you've been wrongly judged or wrongly held back, this energy clears that away, and she takes you effectively as a refugee and supports you and make sure that you can move forward to what you want, then that's fine. But if your motivation is to hunt others or just to compete or just to win for the sake of it, then she will hunt you, basically. So I'm saying it's a pretty interesting message coming up here. And, it's a lot of soul searching. It's interesting. It's a similar sort of, for a different reason, soul searching that was necessary for pile 1 as well. So let's see if we get a little bit more information from the tarot. So we're going to get 3 cards from the tarot for each for a little bit more information from them. And then we'll look at how it comes together. So for Judicia here, whether you feel worthy, what does that mean? What does worthiness mean to you? How do you see other people in terms of worthiness? With this particular pattern, which is, if you go forward with true honesty about yourself, you're ready, you have the skills, and I think, really pretty much that's true here. And you do it with the intent of nurturing others and helping them, then this is an incredibly powerfully good message. But if there's any kind of ego issues in it, then you need to kind of look at those first, because you're dealing with really powerful energies that will assess that as part of what they're assessing in terms of your motivations and your worthiness and so forth. So with Judicia, what do we get? Ace of Pentacles reversed, 8 of Wands, Queen of Cups. Okay, so I think this fits with the sense, Queen of Cups is like the water energy. I think this fits with the fact that garbage truck came in. I think the vast majority, if not all, but certainly, it's up to you to do your own soul searching here, but the vast majority of you have had something denied to you that you are worthy of. And this is now going to start to be released. You're going to be seen to be the mature, ready one. You do have the emotional maturity to do this, to be elevated and so forth. There is some new job, some new project, could be some relationship as well. If it's like who in love, you are going to be chosen. I think this is saying you are. And I think Judicia is saying that you're worthy. You're worthy to do that. Your time is coming now. So I think that's a very good sign that we're not dealing with, at this point where the worthiness is done, anything that you have to be concerned about. But remember, sometimes when we are successful, we can become the thing that we despised. So you always have to be aware of that. You always have to make sure that your motives going forward are pure. So then with the Renard, with getting rid of anything that needs to be washed away, clearing the energy for you, what is she wanting to say to you? Ace of Wands, yeah, you're meant to move forward with your energy. 4 of Pentacles reversed. She's getting rid of anything that had you stuck. Something very material about this, like it feels like a job or a project or a creative thing that you want to bring out into the world. Page of Cups reversed. Okay, so she is saying, I'm going to do a couple of things for you. I am going to clear away the material blocks. I'm also going to hold a mirror up to you around your emotional energy. I think with here, Judicia is sort of saying to Renala, I think this person's fine. But Renala is saying, when I wash things away, I wash everything away. So this is also going to make you have to understand and really think about, what do you value in this and how does it connect to your heart? Because what can happen sometimes is, if you have a skill or an ability or have created something that's been blocked, we can get so obsessed with, I just want this to come through, and it might be absolutely the right thing to do, but it can take us away from the real purpose that we did in the beginning. So I think Renala is saying, I'm going to bring you back into your heart when I've done this, to make sure that you're moving forward with what you really want. so that all this wonderful energy is used in the right way. So then Diana, who will be saying probably, I'm happy to help you if unfair things have happened, but I'm going to be watching to make sure that you don't replicate that with others, quite frankly. I mean, that's what the messages here are saying. What else is she saying to you? Six of Cups reversed. Yeah, it's don't replicate the past. That's a very interesting thing. The Star, you're meant to move forward to what is you. Eight of Swords, don't get trapped in the past. Okay, this is something, and I used to see this in workplaces and so forth. It's a very typical thing that can happen. And when people look at it in terms of, revolutions and everything that happens, there's whole historical books of analysing revolutions that say, a revolution occurs because it's necessary to clear kind of tyrannical or despotic or corrupt sort of energies, but then what happens is that somehow it seems to shift back into that with the new regime. It is a risk in any change. It is a risk when we move up the ladder that we start to identify more with things that we used to battle, all of that kind of thing. So she is saying that she sees at the moment that you're imprisoned in things from the past, and she does want to free you to follow your path. So at this point, they're all very much in your court. Nobody at here is saying that they think that you are unworthy or that you have bad motivations or whatever. But she is saying the past can imprison us in various ways. So she's asking you to be very clear about this, that if you move up the ladder, you get the success or whatever, you don't replicate the same closed door policy that you confronted. That's all it's really saying. And that way you can grow and you can have these divine archetypes working with you. So let's see, just bringing it together, 3 cards for bringing together this message. So, I mean, I think it's a pretty obvious sequential message, but let's just bring it all together. 2 of Wands reversed, 6 of Wands reversed, the Sun reversed. Yeah, this is all about you are going to find a new direction, you are going to get recognition, and you are going to be able to move forward in a way that you haven't. This is recognition. Diana sees you as a refugee of unfairness. Renala sees that things need to be cleared away. Judicia sees that something's unfair. So there definitely is that, and they want to turn all of that around for you. But I think there is that sort of secondary thing about remember when that happens, not to pay forward the kindness and pay forward the elevation and the support, not pay forward the experience that you had. That's basically the message here. Okay, so let's get a little bit more about how to manage that. So let's have a look at your magical energy that their messages bring to you, what do you bring forward with this? Listen, okay. I think it's saying just hear this message. I really want you to hear this message. What I must say to you, and whether this is in love or creativity or career, this is a very strong sign that you're about to break through a block and do really, really well. So it's a very positive message, but it is say listen to the wisdom of this. Because it's almost like even those that you broke through and got past maybe originally had good intentions, but then kind of wanted to sort of stay number one. I mean, think about the sort of issue when somebody is number one. At some point, there's going to be somebody who tilts at that and maybe surpasses them, and we have to be ready and okay with that. So I think it's that kind of energy. Just be aware of that. You have a very powerful capacity to do it. It's one of the reasons why they all basically think you're worthy. But don't ignore this. Don't think, oh, that could never happen to me. We're all capable of doing that. So, and then we have intuition. Yeah, and like when you're not sure, and the Diana thing, go to your intuition. What do you feel inside? It won't lie to you. Your mind might give you lots of nice rationalizations, but your intuition will tell you. Let's see the spiritual gifts that may also grow or appear as a result of this. Starseed awakening. You're being called to explore and channel the spiritual mission from the universe. So there is something bigger here for you. And that will connect you more with that. As I say, I don't think it was ever in question that you weren't worthy, and in terms of skills, abilities, connections, it was just, what do you do with it after this has occurred, particularly if you've been really frustrated today. And claircognizance, you're being called to explore and tune into your gut instinct, your intuition. When all else fails, and I think some of this is to look at yourself. Do you feel really comfortable looking at yourself with what you're doing, or does it just not feel quite so comfortable? Really watch your gut, actually. I think that I think that they're saying here that if you were starting to veer towards, becoming a bit of what you despise, you might actually get a bit of an upset stomach. You've got a very finely tuned sense of ethics. That's what's nice. You have a really nice energy on that level, and that will steer you really well, because there will be the temptations, and we're all human. We're all subject to temptation potentially. All right, let's have a look at the astrological energy. Let's get a couple of pairings of planets for you. So we've already looked, Laila, by the way, Jupiter, I don't know if I mentioned that. So that's expansion, beneficence, growth, all of that kind of thing. Judicia is Venus, so love, the feminine principle. And Dhyana we've already talked about with the moon. They may come up again in these pairings, or there might be other planetary energies that are important. So we have Mercury and Saturn. Okay, yeah, this is both breaking through the harsh limitations, because there have been harsh limitations, but it's also bringing your intellect and your understanding. And as I say, your intellect could be a trickster, but I think Saturn there is good. You actually have a really good sense of ethics. This is what it's saying. This is why these divine archetypes are wanting to support you. You are more mature about this than others, less likely to be tricked. But it doesn't mean it couldn't happen. Because remember, you're very clever. So if you, say, moved up a level and you had more influence and more power than you had before, it's for clever people, they can come up with the rationalization. So this is just using that kind of discipline and ethics is the way that you strengthen your Mercury energy in the most positive way. And Mercury again with Pluto, yeah, it's like how you communicate. It's very, very powerful. And that's part of the reason. It's part of your skill set is in communication, I would say. So that's part of it, and that is how you bring change, and it's how you bring breakthrough. Remembering too, we almost have opposite principles here. We have the big revolutionary energy, and we have the stabilizing energy. So at the moment, that's very well balanced in you, which is probably also Judicia, the balance of the energies. So in your communication, maybe one of the ways to make sure that you don't slip into something that these divine archetypes wouldn't approve of is to make sure you have a balance of what is a legacy and sustainable and well structured, and something that has enough change within it that allows for growth in both you and in others. There's something like that. I think many of you are going to move into very powerful positions, if not now, in your lifetime. And I think there's a lot here about you're ready and you're worthy, but don't lose that side of that, because it could be not necessarily taken away from you, but it could get quite tumultuous. And spiritually, you don't want to become the thing you despise. So let's have a look at this now on a kind of human psychology level, and then on a spirit animal soul levels to close out the reading. So on a human psychology level, I'm using the Ego Observer Tarot because I think that's a very powerful deck in that way. And we're just going to, I'm shuffling, and then I'm going to deal out till I get the first two major arcana cards for some other human psychology archetype energy that you bring to bear here. You just have to deal with me till I find one. Okay, the Chariot. So this is, you are meant to move forward. Keep your eye on the light on the hill. That's the important thing. That's it. And in fact, I think this is saying this is one step. You'll go further as long as you keep to the good intentions. Like if you don't, it could all be sort of like gone in an instant in a tempest. Okay, and the Devil, yeah, okay. Because, yeah, there's power. This only happens because whatever it is that you're doing, whatever matters, you are going to get more power. You are going to there is a lot of power around this in one form or another. That's why they're being so insistent that you take the right energy and the right worthiness and the right intent in there, because there's going to be a lot of temptation as well. That's why they're saying this. They're not saying you've done anything wrong yet. They're saying we all could do it, so you need to be aware of that. Keep your eye on the hill, not on kind of like what you could, not on shortcuts or, oh, come and join the club, come and join the club, that kind of thing. Okay. So to maybe help with that and to close out the reading, we're just going to get you a spirit animal. So we're going down to the most natural, having started with the most divine archetypes. So a spirit animal energy to bring it all together for you. And for you, wow, we have the eagle. So this is like getting to the higher level perspective. The eagle, you know, any bird is about that. I'm going to get the book to see also what the deck is talking about there. But you know, to me, the eagle has a higher level perspective. It sees things in the future. It flies high. There's a lot of strength in the eagle as well. So in the book, it says, transcend limitations. You're going to do that. You're going to break through limitations. I think it's then, how do you bring other people up with you? It says, symbolizing vision, courage and clarity, the eagle calls us to soar to great heights and attain a broader perspective. Yes, you are going to rise, and it gives you a broader perspective. And that's the thing that's going to help you not fall into the thing where it could all be washed away. In its majestic flight and piercing gaze, we find inspiration to aim higher, maintain clarity in our goals, and cultivate the courage to pursue them. So yeah, Diana wants you to pursue your goals. She just wants you to do it with the right sort of ethics and the right intent, just like all of them do. And then she's not going to hunt you. She's going to protect you if there's any blocks. But yeah, to those that much is given, much is expected, I often say. That's what this is all about. So I hope it's actually very positive for what's coming up. But because of that, you have some big shoes to fill ethically, morally and spiritually. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 3, to your reading. So you came to the reading with Lunara, which is connected with the moon and obviously Cancer as the sign is there. We have a couple of constellations as well to talk about in terms of the other divine archetypes here. It's very interesting. I feel as though there's a very coherent message in each of them, and it's very clear. I think you'll know very quickly when I just give the high level understanding of these particular beings, whether or not this is the message for you. So, and I think that's kind of true of all three of them. So hopefully that gives some clarity. This is for highly creative people. So I think that's the first thing. And like, creativity comes in many forms. So you don't have to be a singer or a dancer or a musician, though some of you may very well be with these cards, but you don't have to be that. You could be the creator of new systems, new worlds, new organizations, all that kind of thing, particularly with Vulcanus here. Could be a lot of power around it, as well as a lot of kind of connecting with the celestial spheres and the music of the spheres and all that kind of thing. So it sort of depends. There's a wide range of ways that one can be creative, but this is what this is about. And it's a really interesting message because it's very much saying that a major life-changing creative inspiration project or something is coming in, and it's almost forced on you. Like, it comes from much larger forces than you may think you command. You may feel something very big changes. This is very much like the Tower card. There's a huge change energy, and you feel like you're in the vortex of, you know, the fiery pit of creation, you know, like right at the beginning of time almost. So there's that kind of thing. There's very, very strong external forces that Vulcanus will be talking to you about. Vulcanus is saying, and the reason these are coming almost in a kind of sequence first, Vulcanus is saying that yes, it may seem to be sort of like bigger than you, but you are also very key to it. In fact, and maybe you're bigger than you think. It's kind of the message there, but it is a little bit scary. So understanding the skills and the support you have to get to this is what we're talking about. So we start firstly with Bardus. So Bardus is actually, it's from the constellation Cerberus. It's connected with Saturn. So there's wisdom, age, structure, and it's very interesting. We have a Saturnian energy here and then a very Plutonian energy here in many, many ways. Though this is also connected to the sun, but there's because of the fiery creativity, but like it's also very transformative energy. Yeah, so Plutonian or Uranian maybe. But Bardus is connected to Saturn, so there is the skill and the maturity and so forth. It's very much connected to figures like Orpheus, and it talks about the natural bard. So you may have a very strong musical ability, a very strong writing ability. There may be something lovely in the way that you speak, in the way that you can communicate, the way that you can tell a story. All of those things are very, very important, and they can come out in anything. It could be that, you know, you write music, you sing, you write books or something like that, you write poetry, but it could also be that your sort of creativity on that level and the beautiful way that you can express it and harmonize it, because there's a lot about this in that kind of sense. It's about harmonizing and so forth, is how you can deal with this sort of energy and how you can have a real impact on it. And you're like the narrator of the story always has a very big impact on how people perceive what's going on. So there's that kind of energy to it. But Orpheus is an interesting allegory for this, because it is asking you to have faith, I think, because over here with Vulcanus, there is a lot going on. And this is like Orpheus going into the underworld to find Eurydice. Like, there is a bit of a sense there. And if you know that story, he went down to rescue his wife, Eurydice, who had been kidnapped by Hades. Hades said, okay, you can leave with her as long as you trust and you don't look back as you walk out. And at the last minute, he looks back and he loses her. So there's something here about really needing to build your trust in yourself, and that you can have an impact on something really big like that. You can do a bargain with the universe in a way, and you have enough ability for that to be taken seriously. So it's a kind of back yourself sort of thing here. This talks about the fact that at the moment, this is like a rite of passage or an initiation. The musical kind of energy is meant to give you a sense of the divine order. It is like the celestial realm, like the music of the spheres. I would suggest you listen to music after this, even if you're not a musician. I think you're going to connect into and harmonize, because it's saying right now what we want you to do is you're about to be drawn into the celestial orchestra, so to speak, for something very big. So pay attention, pay attention and harmonize. It's not time to want to be the lead singer necessarily. Though, you know, I mean, there's probably nothing wrong with being a lead singer in a band, but it's not like the lone person out on the stage. You're going to be with others with this, but your energy is integral. So that's part of it. Then, interesting to say, and this is probably almost, even though this doesn't talk about Eurydice, Lunaria is Cancer, the moon, so the very feminine sort of principle and so forth, linked to Luna as an entity. And it says she's the loving sister or dance partner. So, I mean, for some of you, this might be a really significant relationship that's coming in that you feel is bigger than you, but you actually are just as pivotal as the other person. Like, this could be you and your partner. And it doesn't happen. I'm not talking about gender choices here or whatever, if that's the case. So I think for most of you, nothing is really bigger than great love, I guess. But it feels like it's more around the change and creation of something. But nevertheless, that's what she represents. She represents emotion, intuition, and a safe light in the dark. So it's saying that your skill and this energy will help you with this, because you're heading towards Vulcanus. And Vulcanus is from the constellation of Vulpecula. It connects with the sun, as I say, though I also think I feel Pluto and Uranus as well around that. So it's a figure that's a bit like Tartarus, as a demiurge energy, basically. So it is the most powerful form of creativity that we're talking about here. It's the gift of creation. It's beyond good and evil. This is not an issue about a moral choice. The moral choice is not the choice really here for you. The choice is how you harmonize in and you bring your gifts and your skill to create this and to realize something about yourself, that you're bigger than you thought, that kind of energy. It is a time when titanic forces seem to be beyond your control, but you're part of it, and understanding that, and that you're going to have the light. So this could be, you know, the rise of a leader whose beautiful way of speaking and seeing things and harmonizing and bringing collaboration and finding and helping others with the light and the dark helps with major change. Or it could be the original inspiration and the beauty and the expression of some sort of creative project that others need to do, that it's going to have a major impact on all of you. But it's pretty powerful, I have to say. And this is the preparation and the protection. And then this is jumping in and just letting it happen. So let's see what each want to say to you individually. So we're just going to get 3 tarot cards for each, and then we'll have a look at how it combines. So firstly with Bardus, with your innate inner bard, how you would communicate and express this. What does Bardus want to say to you? And Saturn, as I say, you know, what kind of maturity, what is the maturity that you have and the skill that you have that's important to this? Ace of Swords reversed, Knight of Cups, 8 of Wands reversed. Okay, now this is interesting, because I do think for some of you there could be sort of a love connection here that's associated with it, whether it is what it is fundamentally about, or whether it is that it is in partnership with someone there might be a romantic connection. If not, Bardus is saying that you have all the the skills. Like if I was looking at this as a musician, Ace of Swords reversed, there's some inspiration or something like that kind of technically that hasn't yet been born. You've kind of like blocked yourself because maybe you hadn't felt the inspiration, but your heart is the way to get to the inspiration. So this is a balancing of your mind and your heart, getting them in balance and getting them to harmonize. Because I think this is sort of saying that maybe you've been very technically good at whatever this is. And it's now what's coming through with whatever this external thing is going to be an inspiration that connects you even more with your heart and that elevates it. So I think it's saying, don't worry too much about the technique because you've got all that you need technically. Wait for the stirring of the heart, for the invitation of the heart. And don't rush, don't hurry, don't worry about that. It's going to come in good time. So then with Lunara, when this is sort of triggered and you're actually starting to do something and you might be feeling a little bit lost because it seems very new and very different maybe, or very tumultuous potentially. She says, Wheel of Fortune, in the end, this is actually for your good. No matter how much it might seem overwhelming. The Fool reverse, and you have the skills. You kind of know this. You've done it before in some way, whether it's in another life or earlier in this life. The Hierophant reverse, but it does require you, it's moving away from technique in some way and moving away from the expectation of industry, technique, profession, whatever it is, into something that is more purely creative. That there's something like that, and it's like this could be a classic energy that came about where you are extremely good at something creative within a not so creative job, and suddenly like the job disappears because of the economy or whatever, but you actually then you're released, maybe you get a redundancy package or something, you're released with enough resources and with your skills to really move towards what you've always been meant to do. That's a way this could read potentially. But she's certainly saying she'll be there to guide you when something is unfamiliar. This is good fortune. But she's also saying, you don't even really need a guide. You've done this before. You've seen it before. Back yourself. But she'd be there to kind of like shine a light wherever it gets a little bit shadowy or strange when it's different to what you're used to. And then Vulcanus, the biggie, the demiurge. What is the energy here that I think ultimately is working for you but might seem a little bit overwhelming? That's why you need to understand this bit to even approach it or see it. We have the Five of Wands reverse. Okay, this is to release tension rather than to create it, even if it appears tumultuous. The Moon reverse, it's something's going to come to the surface, something that's been hidden, something that needed to be known. And Six of Pentacles, you will have support from those who, like in whatever this is, there will be people who are your benefactors who will provide support for you. But it's like this has to happen for you to even see it. So it's interesting. And of course, it'll be different for anybody, each person who comes here, how it's playing out. But there's a big change coming that will work out in your fortune. It's actually fortunate. You might even at the beginning think it's fortunate, but you may sort of think, wow, I could do this, but is that too much for me? And the answer is no, it's not too much for you. So let's get how it all combines together. 3 tarot cards for that. The Seven of Swords reversed. The Death card. The Five of Cups. Okay. So this is saying you will have a very pragmatic way of looking at this in the end. Like that's one of your strengths. You're very realistic with yourself. You're very honest with yourself. If anything, a little bit too harsh, and this is understanding your skill, but you'll kind of work that out. You do know you're good at whatever this is. So, and once you get the information you need here, you'll realize that you have the support you need. It's not so tumultuous, really. So you'll make a realistic decision about when the change is there. There is something to let go of, though, emotionally, to allow this to come through. I am also going to go back to the Orpheus and Eurydice. I think that there is a little bit of a warning here for some of you around that mythology, that if you have gone into the underworld, knowing what you need to do, don't look back. Look how this character's looking back. I think that is don't lose faith. The only way that you would not get what you really needed to get out of this is if you lost faith in yourself. This is why we have these two first before we hit that. So wow, that's really interesting. Okay, so let's see what magical energy you bring to this. Pile 3. Mediumship. Oh, that's interesting in the underworld. And why I kept getting Orpheus and Eurydice. There may be a guide or an energy for you from past loved ones or something like that are going to also help you and shine the light. That could be connecting and I think coming through Lunara. But you've got that ability, even if you didn't know it. And focus, yeah, focus. This is just about focusing your energy. When you're in the chaos, when you're in the chaotic and wonderful, but also rather frightening well of creation, the best way to deal with it is to focus on what you are bringing, what you bring, your technical skill, what you bring to it, because you are part of this. You are meant to harmonize. All of this is about harmonizing with great change to create something more. That's what this whole message is about, but you've got to believe in yourself to do that. And if it is a love relationship, it's a very powerful one. You're meant to be together, but you've got to have faith in yourself with that, and you harmonize together. Because it's kind of like a tower relationship, and I will often say with that, there's a lot of fear that comes with that because it's so intense. Okay, so let's see what spiritual gifts may either grow, ones that you have, or new ones that might come in as a result of these divine archetypes bringing you this message. Spiritual adornment. You're being called to explore creating talismans, jewelry, and other spiritual pieces. Now, that may be a little bit, I mean, it's a creative act, but it may also be a little bit, like of a, like one might wear sigils or protective amulets or whatever, in going through this, in being in that space. That may actually heighten something for you, I think. And dice divination. You're being called to explore throwing dice for spellcasting and divination. So if you have dice, if you have tokens, charms, anything like that, it may help give you some information. This might be a way of getting the guidance from Lunara in particular. Okay, let's see astrologically a couple of pairings of planets. So we know with this we have the moon involved, Saturn involved, and the sun. I also think to some degree Pluto and Uranus, but we know we have that. These may come up. We're just going to get a couple of pairings of planets for other energies you can harness for this. So firstly we have Moon and Saturn. So yeah, it is really saying, and the Moon and Saturn, this is why this is so important. These ones to start with, the structure, the skill, the understanding, the wisdom, and the emotional connection, and the light and the darkness, these work really well for you, and bring it into balance the way that we've got kind of a Libra and scales there. So this is, using the skills and abilities and understanding and emotional maturity that you have. Like you're ready for this because you're emotionally mature enough for it. And Moon and Jupiter. So the moon is watching over everything. Watch the cycles of the moon, actually. Maybe throw dice in the cycles of the moon. Wear particular spiritual amulets at particular phases of the moon. This is meant to expand you. It's meant to release you from old restrictions and expand you. So it's a good thing, and the moon energy will actually guide you. So that's good. So the other things that we want to look at here is, firstly, if we're starting with the divine archetypes, I want to then look at human archetypes. And I think that the major arcana of the tarot really show that. And I think the Ego Observer tarot that I have particularly shows it. So I'm just shuffling that particular tarot, and then I'm going to deal out till I get the first two major arcana, because these are aspects of your human personality, your human being, that are going to be important to this in one way or another. So just bear with me while I deal out till I get major arcana. It's taking a little while. There we go. I am. This one came up for one of the others. So this is strength. So you are strong enough for this. And this is about you understanding who you are. And look, this is very similar colouring to the Vulcanist. You exist with a clarity, and you can see, with the moon, the light, you can see in this maelstrom. This is part of your strength. And the star, yeah. The other way we light up the night. And the star is our North Star, what we're heading towards. This is to become truly who you are, and to be confident with it, as the card says. So this is something to build your confidence and build your understanding of what you do. But it's almost like it's like the bird is being pushed out of the nest by the mother bird, because you've got to learn that you can fly. And the only way is for something that's a little bit sort of jolting, that then you actually realize you have everything that you need to do it. Okay, so as a final thing, having gone from the divine to the human, we'll now go to the spirit animal realm for a spirit animal, just to bring this all together for you. And for you, we have beetle. So that's interesting. There's a sort of sense of getting into the detail, into the minute thing. It's very similar colouring again. So we're going to have a look at what the book says about beetle. Be open-minded. A symbol of perseverance, transformation and adaptability, the beetle imparts valuable life lessons. Its presence encourages us to navigate life's complexities with unwavering resilience and an open-minded perspective. Revered across diverse global cultures, the beetle also signifies rebirth. So yeah, going into the cauldron of creativity, rebirth, really becoming who you are, following your North Star. But this is, it will require perseverance. This is why we've got Saturn so strongly as well. Perseverance to use your skills, to find your way in unfamiliar, new creating territory. But there's a lot to be said for this. And you are meant to harmonize it. You are the right person to harmonize it. The symphony and the creation can't happen without you, Pole 3. That's what it's saying. Doesn't matter how big it seems, you are integral. You are part of it in whatever way that is. And I think a very distinctly important part. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.